Hi guys, back again. Not been around for a while. Just kind of an update, I guess. I'm seeing what's going on in the Dutch government there, and the collapse of said over the disengagement from the war. And also, I guess at this time in the UK, we're fast approaching a general election. And I guess what interests me in this sense is the fact that we have such a limited choice. Interesting that the two main, when I say main political parties, i.e. the ones that are most likely to attain power, neither of them are really, for me personally, addressing any of the concerns that I have. It highlights to me the limited choice we have, and actually I wonder if there is actually a choice at all, as most of these parties seem to be funded by the corporate sector to a lesser degree. So I guess it's about limited choice. I wonder if there's ever been a less just time than we live in at the moment. We have this limited choice potentially between two parties that are likely to gain power, and I wonder if that's any choice at all. No party advocates the end to the illegal wars now continuing in the Far East, resulting in the massive loss of life of those innocent civilians that happen to be just living in their country. No party seems to advocate the end of our seemingly reliance on these massive greedy corporations that have recently taken so much of our public and hard-earned money from the individual citizens of this country and poured it into the coffers of these illustrious banking corporations that are apparently too big to fail. I wonder why the individual man in the street isn't too big to fail, particularly as this is the man, or these are the people, that the governments are supposed to represent. It's been the most profitable year for banks. What does this tell us about what is really going on? Is this not just a movement of currency from the lower working classes upwards towards the corporate elites? This kind of smoke and mirrors approach to politics is appalling, and I feel it really has to come to an end. It seems to be the worst time possible for the people. Each party that's likely to come into power is advocating severe cuts in services we pay our tax for. The reason these cuts need to be in place is because we have to pay off this massive deficit. And I do wonder, massive deficit, where's that come from? The fact that we've poured out the treasure and wealth of this country, generated by the hard-working individual people in the street, has been poured into the coffers of corporations that are solely determined by their greed and consumption. Also, the ongoing wars. I wonder how many schools and hospitals could have been built, how many services could have been improved if this money wasn't been poured liberally into the war coffers to support, illegal wars against poor, repressed people in foreign countries. It seems to me that this is the time to change. The only goal of these large corporations is greed and inflated profits. I think it's time for a change. I think the people of the UK, as this is where the election is due, need to stand up and be counted. Unfortunately, it seems to me there is very little in the way of choice that actually represents the people of this country. The real grassroots people, with their fears and concerns about the future and what's happening, and their sense of value and place within a society that is managed to look after the greedy corporate elites, reduce their services and their wealth of potentials so that these people can fill their boots. It really is a tragically sad time and place at the moment. I'm very concerned about the way our country is going and the world at large. But what I do see with the collapse of the Dutch government, perhaps things are changing. Never have people been so disillusioned, never have people felt so oppressed, ripped off and unheard by the governments that run them. This seems to be happening around the world, with the raising of awareness by plenty of people out there that are doing their bit to raise awareness in the general populace. It's a massive task. We're fighting the corporations that control the media, that control the way things are portrayed on the television, the spin that's put onto the leading questions of our time. All this is poured out and spun round to reinforce that, we need to do this or we need to do that, we need to fight a war, we need to prop up the banks that have been robbing us for decades. Now is the time for change. Hopefully, a peaceful change. Is revolution ever peaceful? I feel we have the tools to have a peaceful revolution. We all have a vote. It's time we use that vote. I guess the difficulty is finding somebody who's going to be able to utilise that vote for real lasting change. Not a strapline, not a byword, not a smoke and mirrors again approach to pulling the masses onto one side or another that actually have very, very little to separate them. Listening to the speeches that are coming out now in the run-up to the election, it highlights to me the very little difference between the parties that are actually vying for power. They all talk about cuts to services. They all talk about paying back our deficit. Nobody mentions ending the war. What is going on? It's time for the people of this country and the people of the world, I believe, to really be heard. Anyway, just some more of my thoughts. Thanks, guys. Take care. Hey, look after yours and the ones you love. Cheers.